Hey, welcome to the Screening Room Podcast. I'm Hope Madden.
I'm George Wolf.
And what do we got going this time?
We are going to talk about Last Breath, also My Dead Friend Zoe, Riff, Raff, Invader, Parthenope, Trigger Happy, and Build Out. And also, let's get to some Oscar predictions. We'll do those too. So hit it.
Are either one of these any good?
Wow, this is a good movie.
It's pretty good.
Well, the director from yesterday doesn't think so.
It stinks.
He's sorry. You waste our film. It's so bad.
Yeah, it's a big week. Big week for us and all movie lovers with Oscar weekend. Oscar's coming up Sunday. With Conan O'Brien as the host. Looking forward to that. I think we both agree that last year's Oscar show, the production, was the best in many years.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So regardless of the awards and who won, just the presentation was great. So hopefully that'll be the case this year as well. We'll get to those predictions. But first, we're going to start in theaters, right, with a new one out starring Woody Harrelson called Last Breath.
Tom, check. Slow your breathing down for me, okay? You're pushing too hard.
Copy.
On the job now. Keep the focus where it needs to be.
Diver 1, begin equalization.
Charlie, what am I magic?
The thrusters have gone offline.
How many?
All of them.
Ship's moving. Get out of there.
Right now. Copy that.
A smack. There is no more slack. That's everything I've got. The ship's not drifting.
Chris has become our anchor. That's never going to hold.
Chris, on me.
What happens now?
Your umbilical, it's gonna snap. I will come back for you, but you have to get yourself back to the top. I can't rescue you if I can't find you.
Yikes!
Yeah, I know. And you know that I'm a sucker for these true survival stories. As soon as I saw that trailer, like, ooh, I'm in. And this is definitely one of those. This is based on a true event from 2012, which I had not heard of. Just a harrowing story of a guy named Chris Lemons, and he was what they call a saturation diver working on an oil rig off the coast of Scotland. And there's an accident and some bad weather, and he ended up getting stranded 300 feet below the surface as his team tried to rescue him as his oxygen was running out. So yeah, I mean, just an incredible story of survival and rescue. And ironically, this is the first narrative feature for writer and co-director Alex Parkinson. He's done mainly documentaries, some TV. And one of his documentaries just a few years ago was a documentary on this, I think with the same title, on this same incident that I think is on Netflix, which we haven't seen. But so it centers around Chris, the diver who gets stranded, is played by Finn Cole, who I believe is from Peaky Blinders, I think. And also on the team, Woody Harrelson and Simu Liu are on the two. And Cliff Curtis, who we saw in the trailer there. I always like to see Cliff Curtis.
Yeah, always do.
So, so then Chris Lemons, the diver, ends up getting stranded down there, and the team has to work to rescue him. And as you might guess from a filmmaker who's very used to documentaries, this film does a good job in explaining what happened, setting up how it happened, and also it does a good job, with the terminology of this job, organically explaining to us, not understanding this job, as most people who watch this film probably won't, what's going on. They find an organic way to do that. So all in that way, it's very competent, very capable, and some of it, like I said, is very white knuckle. I mean, when he first gets stranded there, like, oh my God. I mean, whew, it's nasty, especially if you're, both of us have been diving, are certified divers, not this type of diving, but any sort of accident underwater. And when you're stranded, oh man, that is really, really seriously, deadly. And well, you might guess, even if you don't know the incident, the fact that they're making a movie about it, you probably guess how it turns out. But even so, the tension is really incredible. Where the movie struggles is finding that extra layer in a narrative of developing these characters enough that you have an emotional pull above and beyond just the excitement and the tension of what happened here. That's where the movie struggles, I think, with the writing and trying to develop a bond that's more than a documentary, because at times you're just sort of wondering, well, okay, the documentary probably covered this quite well. What are we doing here with the narrative version that makes it that much more special? And at times there's not a lot there. And at the end, where you get an epilogue with, as a lot of times these movies do often, show you the real people, and there's an epilogue of what's going on with them now. And that almost gives you more of the pull that you wanted from the rest of the film.
Right.
And so I'm actually interested now in seeing the documentary from a few years ago. But not that it's a bad movie. It's very competent, like I said, and some of the sequences are well shot underwater. That can be tough and very tense, but it struggles with the human element and the character development element that you really need if you're going to take this beyond a documentary to a narrative version. So I would say if you love these types of adventures, as you know I do, I would say it's worthwhile, but just it doesn't have the emotional pull that you would maybe be hoping for in a story like this. And that is Last Breath. That's in theaters now. So what's next?
We are going to talk about my dead friend Zoe.
Who wants to start?
My name is Merritt, deployed in 2016.
Give me a phone. Let's get out of here.
Be quiet.
Merritt.
I'm sorry. Grandpa, I've been dealing with some things.
That's what a soldier does. You suck it up.
Girl. Damn, what a name.
Don't say that.
I can joke about the dead. These are my people.
You know what caught my eye about this one right away was Natalie Morales.
Yes.
I've liked her not only as an actor, but a few years ago, she made a movie called Language Lessons during the pandemic, a real pandemic movie that I really liked.
Yeah, it was good. And she's great in this movie. And it's a weird combination because in a lot of ways, it's sort of a buddy picture. These two Army veterans from Afghanistan, Merritt, who is played by Sonequa Martin Green, and Zoe, who is Natalie Morales. They're in group therapy for veterans, and it's clearly court mandated for Merritt. But you find out pretty quickly that Merritt's the only one who can see Zoe because Zoe is dead. But one of the great things about Natalie Morales' character is that she's you know who this character is. Like, you know who she was when she was alive. She's very bold. She's really funny. And the humor in the film, it doesn't detract from the drama in the film. It really enriches it, which I've not seen done not nearly this well in a long time. And the drama is pretty serious because not only is Merritt in therapy, and you know that obviously there's something that causes that, but she gets word that her grandfather, who was her hero and the reason that she joined the Army in the first place, played by Ed Harris, is suffering from Alzheimer's. So she has to go back to the family cabin by the lake, and her mother wants to put him in a facility, and he doesn't want any part of it. And so that's the drama, sort of on the top, but she's not letting anybody know that her imaginary friend, that Zoe, her dead friend Zoe, is with her 24 hours a day, is with her everywhere she goes, on dates and to, doctor's appointments and things like that. And it's such an unusual combination of styles, but it works incredibly well. All of the performances are great. And as you saw in the trailer, of course, Morgan Freeman plays the therapist. And one of the things in the end, a little bit like Last Breath, what you find out is that almost all the characters in the film are in fact Army veterans, military veterans. All of the side characters who are in the group therapy, they show them in the film, then they show a picture of them during their service. And what the movie makes really clear in a way that never feels like forced or cloying is the profound need for VA services, for Veteran Administration services for veterans, and how vital they are. And it's interesting because the movie was made a couple of years ago, and it is an expansion of a short that director Kyle Hausman Stokes made. So it's not as, and there've been a lot of films about PTSD and veterans, and a lot of them have been very good, but this feels so much more vital right now, given that the VA is on the chopping block in terms of funding.
And you know what else I appreciated right away? How many films have we seen where you don't find out the friend, they don't reveal the friend is dead. You pretty much have figured it out until the very end.
Right.
And that's just become such, come on.
Yeah.
The fact that they do it right up front, heck, in the trailer, That's
Yeah.
the smart.
Well, the title.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly the title. But I mean, you could see like when this was maybe getting first written.
Right.
Oh, another film might have gone down the path that you wouldn't call it My Dead Friend Zoe, and then you'd find out at the end. So yeah, you're right. Right away, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, it has that fun element.
Yeah.
But yet very serious with a very serious message.
Yeah, and it's funny that you say that about, the reveal. They also use flashbacks to their active duty time, and you keep waiting for some big event, whatever it is that's caused the Merritt's sort of PTSD. And instead, what they do is just show you the bond that these two women have, just make their relationship feel very lived in and full of joy, so that you see, instead of some kind of a moment that caused PTSD, what you see is that the problem is that how desperately she misses this friend.
Yeah.
And it's just lovely. It's a great movie. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, and that is My Dead Friend Zoe, and that's out in theaters starting this weekend. So we stay in theaters for the next one. It's Bill Murray and a cast of many in Riff Raff.
No Slim Jims. Past 2 hours, you've been passing gas like a very sick infant. I gotta breathe all day.
Sorry, Lefty. I had a lot of coffee, okay? Sorry.
And then you use my name? Jesus Christ, Lonnie.
You just said my name.
You catch our names by any chance?
Yep, he called you Lefty and you called him Lonnie.
Well, I overreacted.
Okay.
Son, we gotta talk about Lefty. What did you do? You killed his son.
You're gonna kill us.
Yeah. This is just in case the dark humor in The Monkey from last week was not dark enough for you. We've got this. And that trailer gave you a little bit of clue. That scene in the store there. That's the kind of humor, that and even darker. So if that got you laughing, then this would be right up your alley. This is, it's Bill Murray. Well, Ed Harris again.
Right, Ed Harris
back,
again.
and it's Bill Murray, it's Ed Harris. You saw Jennifer Coolidge and Pete Davidson. Yeah, Gabrielle Union is in this. A large cast. They're all great. But it centers around Rocco, who's played by Louis Pullman. He ends up killing, you saw the fight there, he ends up killing Lefty's son. And then he and his pregnant girlfriend, Marina, have to go on the run as Lefty and his henchman there, Lonnie, played by Pete Davidson, come after him. And they end up in Maine at the house where Rocco's father, played by Ed Harris, is living with his now wife, Gabrielle Union, and his stepson, Gabrielle Union's son, from another relationship. So you've got all these people, and then Jennifer Coolidge is actually Ed Harris's ex and Rocco's mom. She's there too. Why? Bring them all in, and then as things get heated, Jennifer Coolidge admits that she gets horny when things get dangerous, and she wants to go out in the woods with her ex-husband Ed Harris because danger makes her horny. So this is the kind of stuff that's going on. There's a lot of crisscrossing characters with all these. I mean, all these characters, you can tell, have a lot of different connections, and it already there's a lot to keep track of. But then the director Dito Montiel and the writer John Polano. This is even before they throw voiceover narration from the son, the young Gabrielle Union's son, DJ. He does some voiceover narration, and you get time shifts, back and forth flashbacks. So it keeps you hopping. And it's so dry. It's so dry in its humor, except for this one interlude where on the way to the main hideout there, Bill Murray and Pete Davidson, they meet up with these two clueless suburbanites who don't have any idea that they're in danger, although they should. And that's the one part that's like over the top sketch comedy funny, really funny. Everything else is very deadpan, very dry. So if you know that is your type of humor, I think this one could be hilarious. But I know for a lot of people, it's just not your thing. And you're just going to be like curious, like what's going on and why. But I got a kick out of it. I didn't think it was great, but I do appreciate that sort of humor. And the cast is all in on it. They're all in. Even, Pete Davidson finds a pretty good layer of, I mean, his character is just a a stooge. He's just doing anything to please his gangster boss, and he's a little bit afraid as well. And he finds some sort of layer of sympathy within that guy as well. So the cast is good, and it's kooky, and it's a light little trip of dark humor. And so I kind of enjoyed Riff Raff, and you may as well if you like that sort of stuff. And that is in theaters now. So what's up next?
One that we got to see quite a ways back and loved and are very excited that it's getting its big theatrical rollout right now, Invader.
Yeah.
Ma'am, Morton Grove, last stop.
Is anybody there?
Me estoy aquí en la estación de autobuses solita y nadie responde.
When you finish recording, you may hang up or press 1 for more options.
Voy caminando hacia tu casa.
Your destination is 5 miles away.
I am looking for Camila Torres.
She's not here. She didn't come to work today.
Creo que algo malo está pasando. ¿Me puedes llamar?
Your destination is 2 miles away.
¿A dónde vas?
1 mile away. You have arrived at your destination.
Woo! Lean and mean, this one is. Yeah, we got to see this. Joe Swanberg brought it to Nightmares Film Festival, and for the screening and a Q&A, and he's always great. He's such a, even though as scary as he is in this movie, he is just the nicest guy.
He is. He's an incredibly nice guy. And if you don't know his name, you'll know his face.
Yeah.
You know, he's been in so many movies, and he's just always an interesting character.
And made his own films as well. Yeah.
He does. And this is from director Mickey Keating, who also did Darling. He did Carnage Park. He's done a bunch of stuff. This is very unlike the rest of his films, which are kind of stylized. You know, this is Invader is really raw, and in that it's unsettlingly realistic. You know, a woman, she's taking a bus to Chicago to visit her cousin, and the bus gets in very, very late, and she can't get a hold of her cousin. And so she winds up trying to get a hold of somebody to drive her to the house. This driver pulls up, and it's very, very scary with death metal playing. So she hides from him, and she winds up walking the 5 miles, which is what you see in the trailer. And then when she arrives, no one's home, but there actually is somebody there, and it's the Invader. And it's just, I think one of the reasons it's so scary, this movie's so scary, because the whole time it feels like, oh, this could totally happen. This 100% could totally happen. And then the other thing I think that is really in his favor is the absolutely bizarre character that Joe Swanberg carves of this Invader. He's so scary, and they make the most of his size. He's a tall man. Joe Swanberg is, and Keating makes the most of his size, and the sound design in this movie, especially for a movie that feels very raw and spare. The sound design is terrifying. It's such a fun film. Nah, fun is the wrong word. It's very, as you said earlier, white knuckle. It's really effective. And I think maybe an hour and 20 minutes. I mean, you're in and out, and you're glad of it. Like, I don't know how much longer I could held my breath through this movie. It was just great.
Yeah, because your eyes into it is this character who's in, and she's already in a strange place. And so that kind of gets you on her side right away. Everybody's been there. Oh, I don't know my way around. I'm alone. Where are these people? So right away, you're on her side and you're feeling for her. And then you get the tension of the Invader breaking into these homes and getting violence. And you get no backstory about him. And that's fine. You don't need one. No. Why he's doing this. No, it's more chilling not to know. And yeah, you're right. It's lean and it's mean, and it does seem so realistic. It almost seems like guerrilla filmmaking a little bit. It doesn't look cheap. Don't get me wrong, but it's so raw and real. And yeah, Joe Swanberg. I don't even know. Does he have any lines?
He sings a little bit. No. They show him at the door talking.
Yes.
It's a very polite conversation at a doorway.
Yeah, and I remember that conversation reminded me of the home break-in scene from Unbreakable. If you remember that, scary. And then also there are elements of it, as you might guess, that are funny games type. So yeah, I mean, it is chilling. Like you said, the fact that it looks seems so real just makes you go home and check the doors. I mean, and it was even better when he was in to answer questions, because he's so scary in the movie, but yet he's such a nice, gentle guy, and was great with the Q&A. So we're so glad that this is getting a release, because we had it months ago at the Nightmares Film Festival, but man, it deserves, for horror fans.
Go. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Go. And that is Invader, and it's getting a wider release this weekend.
And then on the absolute other end of the cinematic spectrum, Parthenope.
Ma se io avessi 40 anni meno, tu mi sposeresti?
Se io avessi 40 anni di più, lei mi sposerebbe?
Sei proprio una furbacchione. Are you aware of the disruption of beauty courses?
I'm starting to suspect something.
Yeah, one of my favorite filmmakers, Paolo Sorrentino. Love the films I've seen of his. He has such a, I mean, if I would have watched that trailer without knowing, oh yeah, that's one of his.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just beautiful. The way he photographs things, the way his love for his Italian homeland, especially Naples, where this is set, because I believe Parthenope is another name for Naples.
Okay.
That's who this character is named for. So it's just another love letter to his homeland. It looks fantastic. He not only loves, obviously, beautiful women, he also loves architecture. All his films have such a way of framing the architecture and the landscape around it. It's just so beautiful. And this one follows the character of Parthenope as she goes through her life, basically, and it's sort of set up as maybe she's a siren or a muse or a mythic character. The film has little bits of all that in there as she goes through her life, figuring out what she wants to do, and she's in school for anthropology to study, what makes people the way they are. Can we look at their history and how mysterious people can be? And it's some of it is very fantastical, some of it is realistic, and it's really different from the films I've seen of his. And then as the character ages, the actress is Celeste Dalla Porta. I think it's her first lead. She's done a few smaller parts, but she carries it well. Especially, she has to carry a pretty good age range of character, from a teenager probably into her 40s, until they move to another actress to play her as an older woman, looking back on her life. But it's a bit long. It's about 2:15. I thought it felt a little bit bloated. I don't think it's up there for me. It's not up there with The Great Beauty or The Hand of God, his last couple of films that I loved. But if you have seen his films and you like his stuff, I would recommend it, even though it goes off, it wanders a bit in its storytelling. And you saw Gary Oldman there in the trailer. Small part. I'm not going to spoil by saying who he plays. He plays a real person. I was surprised to find out who he's playing, and he's only in it for a few minutes. But of course, it's Gary Oldman, so he makes quite an impression. But I always want to see Paolo Sorrentino's film, so I did enjoy it, even though it's not quite up there with his best. And that's Parthenope, and it gets a wider release this week in theaters now. So I think that's it for the theater films this week, correct?
It is, yeah, yep. Now we're going to move to streaming with The Build-Out.
You were a good friend to my sister. And if you need this place, these people, to finally be happy, then I want to be there for you. Just make sure I get home in one piece, okay?
That sounds ominous.
It does, doesn't it? The Build-Out, this Daniel Baldwin, the Schlocketeer, reviewed this one for us at madwolf.com and really enjoyed it. It's a very indie kind of a film, and it's set in the desert. And I think, especially in the last couple of years, we've had a spate of horror films that remind you, as they kind of did back in the 70s, anything can happen out in the desert, man. That's the place to go. People always go to the woods, but the desert it's just as sort of mystifying. It's just as secluded, as cut off. You're not going to get your cell reception. There's nuts out there. And in this case, these two women actually just kind of stop on a road trip together to pee. And what they find is that there is a commune or a cult who they've been traveling around a ways to find the right place for their organization. And I think it might be this very spot. And things kind of go amiss there. And you might have recognized the couple people in the trailer. Hannah Aline is from Mayfair Witches, and then Jenna Cannell is from the first Terrifier film, and they do a good job. The movie loses itself a little bit, meanders a little bit. It's one of those not super structured kind of films, but the two actors in the leads, their chemistry is great, and they're solid enough to be able to carry the film. You're interested in what they have to say and what they have to do, even when the writing maybe lets it down a little bit. So he enjoyed it. He thought it was good.
And I was really caught my attention in his review. He compared it to the early work of Benson and Moorhead. We love Benson and Moorhead. He said it's not quite up there with, their first one was Premonition, I believe. Resolution. Yeah. And very, that's high praise.
Yes.
But it's in that, Daniel thought it was in that area and gave you enough potential to really look out for what the filmmakers are doing in the future. So that's a good start. Yeah. And that one is streaming now. It's on VOD, called The Build Out. And you can check Daniel's review at madwolf.com.
And that's from writer-director Zeshan Yunus.
Yes. So he was impressed.
So one more in streaming for us to look at today. And this looks like a really fun one. I'm glad it turned out to be. It's called Trigger Happy.
A man needs something to aspire to.
Police believe she was after a nearly $2 million life insurance payout.
$2 million. A nice chunk of change, but not worth it. Worth what? The soul, George. My wife is remarkable. Light of my life.
I have been paying for everything forever, and I've decided that it's going to stop.
Bang, bang.
Take pride in being a man who's important to society.
You're a worthless donkey roasting in the twilight of your life.
and the character's name is George. So what can go wrong? This was reviewed by Rachel Willis at madwolf.com, and she really enjoyed it.
Yeah. I remember when I first saw the trailer thinking, this could be good. This could be funny. And it's another one that's just bone dry. Just the comedy, although you can tell how stylized it is. And it's a very interesting look. And the score, to me, it's got a little bit of a Napoleon Dynamite vibe to it. And it's basically kind of a misery loves company sort of a story where George just hates everything about his life. But then the more you see all of the characters, so they all do. And they all do really outrageous things to overcome how much they hate their lives in a town that little by little you realize it's not really our reality. And Rachel thought the way that was relayed, was very clever. And that she said it's a little bloody to call fun, but it's
maybe for her.
Right, exactly. But it was wild and interesting and just really well made, fun movie.
Yeah, and that is called Trigger Happy, streaming now, and you can find Rachel's full review at madwolf.com. Okay, so we're moving ahead to a little thing called the Academy Awards, right?
We are.
Yeah, I don't think there are. We were talking earlier today on our TV gig. Maybe there's one that we think is a slam dunk. Other than that, a lot of these categories are up for grabs.
Yeah, I think so too. And if we want to start, why don't we start with the writing awards?
Oh yeah.
I think that I think that it is going to be a tight race for both of the writing awards. For original screenplay, I think it's probably not quite as tight. I'm going to say probably Anora. What do you think about that? Although, The Substance had a lot of momentum coming in. So I feel like if it's not Honora, A Substance is my second bet.
Yeah, I think as much as we both liked Honora, I think we would like to see The Substance win. That would be fantastic. I mean, anytime the horror genre gets mainstream award acceptance is nice.
Yeah.
Honora's great. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah.
And yes, I'd probably say I would go with that one, but I think The Substance is not out of the running for original screenplay.
And then for adapted screenplay, which was a really, really good race, I think we both think Sing Sing ought to win.
Yes.
But we think that Ramel Ross is going to win for Nickel Boys, and that's not going to break my heart. It's such a great adaptation.
Gee whiz, both and totally different approaches.
Oh yeah.
But man, both are so good. Highly recommend both of them. So I think you're probably right. Love to see Sing Sing win, but Nickel Boys certainly is deserving and will probably win that.
Yeah, I think so too. And if we skip to the supporting, I think as you were saying this morning on the TV gig, I think the one slam dunk obvious winner is supporting actor.
Yeah.
Which we think is going to be Kieran Culkin for A Real Pain.
Yeah, not that there weren't other deserving performances. There are, but he's won everything. And he is just great. He's one of those where as you're watching it, you're going, oh, he's going to win an award for this.
It's true. Right. Yeah, it absolutely is. And you're right. There are a lot of great performances in this, including Yura Borisov from Honora. He was great. He was great.
He was.
But Kieran Culkin would be my pick as well. I think he's going to win, but I also think he should win.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And then for supporting actress, we both, I think that it will be Zoe Saldana for Emilia Perez.
Yeah, I think so. It was not quite as much of a slam dunk as Kieran Culkin is, but I think it's pretty solid. She's been winning everything, and I know that film has become, been polarizing from day one. It's such a polarizing movie. I did enjoy it. I wouldn't have nominated it for Best Picture. I had many others I would have put in there first. I did enjoy it, but it's highly polarizing for a lot of reasons now. But that's not to take anything away from her performance. She is great in it, and she deserves it if she wins, and I think she probably will.
Yeah, and it's a role that asks a lot, and so much screen time that really it's close to being a lead role. Obviously, it is. But I mean, it's not like one of those. We both love Isabella Rossellini, who's also nominated, but she's on the screen for 4 or 5 minutes tops, whereas Zoe is in almost every scene. I mean, she does a lot, and a lot is asked of her because it's also it's a courtroom drama and an action film and a musical, and so she flexes a lot of muscles in this.
She does, and she's just really, really good in it. So yeah, I think she probably will win.
But we both think that the leading roles are a tighter race. So I think we both give the edge in supporting our lead actress. We both give the edge to Demi Moore in The Substance, although Mikey Madison from Honora, that's a very close call.
I think it is too. I mean, Demi Moore, she's great. She also has, for what it's worth, not to take anything away from her performance at all, but she does have a bit of a sentimental, people love a comeback story. She's been an icon. I mean, she was a 90s icon, went away for a while. And in her own acceptance speeches from previous awards, I think on the Golden Globe, she thought she might have been done.
Yeah.
And to have such a comeback, we saw a little bit that way from Pamela Anderson, who didn't get nominated for Oscar, but for other awards, who was also great.
Yeah.
So people love that comeback story. So yes, I do think Demi Moore is going to win. But Mikey Madison also great. And if there was a different winner, it's probably going to be her. But I think we'll go with Demi Moore. Yeah.
Yep. And then maybe an even tighter race, right? Best actor. I think up until the SAGs, we'd have been fairly locked in with a prediction of Adrian Brody for The Brutalist. But so just a quick cover of how Oscar votes are tallied. There is a tremendous amount of overlap in the voting pool between Academy voters and people who belong to the different guilds, right? The Screenwriters Guild, the Actors Guild, Producers Guild, right? And so the Screen Actors Guild voting pool there's so much overlap between that and the Academy that the SAG Awards are probably the best predictor of all of the acting awards. And Timothy Chalamet won Best Actor, right? I mean, Adrian Brody had basically won everything else, right?
Yep.
He won BAFTA and he won the Golden Globe, but none of those really predict Oscar because there is no real overlap in the voting pool. And there's such a big overlap here that we're going out on a limb and we're saying Chalamet is going to win.
Yeah, it doesn't always predict. I remember years back when Johnny Depp won for Pirates of the Caribbean, won the SAG.
Okay.
We were like, what? And well, of course, he didn't win the Oscar. So not always, but you're right. It's a good predictor. And it definitely changed our minds because we were going to probably pick Brody. But at this point, I would probably say Timothy Chalamet. And I think people, I mean, it's not going to win Best Picture, but people really like that movie.
Yeah.
They really, really do. And he is great in it.
Yeah.
I mean, Adrian Brody is great in The Brutalist as well. He has already won one for what that's worth.
Yes, he has.
And Timothy Chalamet is such a young superstar on the way up that it's tight. It is tight. But I think the SAG turned both our heads.
Yes.
That we're picking Timothy Chalamet.
Yeah. Just barely, right? Just barely over Brody. If Brody wins, neither one of us will be surprised. But yeah, we're gonna give the edge to Timothy Chalamet.
That's right.
And that leaves us with Best Picture. What do you think it's going to be, George?
Woo! You know, another one where the SAG, and I wasn't surprised that Conclave won because their award is not a Best Picture. The SAG is Best Ensemble of Acting.
Mm-hmm.
And that ensemble in Conclave is fantastic. Even right down to Isabella Rossellini with that small part. Everybody's fantastic. So that didn't surprise me whatsoever. And I think if there's going to be an upset, it's going to be Conclave.
Right.
But I think Anora has all the momentum.
Yep.
All the momentum right now. So I think we're both picking Anora. But if you want to bet upset, I would say vote for Conclave.
Right. And every year, honestly, Best Picture is the hardest. So between the two of us, you are likelier to sort of go with your gut.
Yeah.
And when you're picking, and I don't ever. I always just go with what sort of data suggests, right? But the Best Picture is hardest to predict, for one thing, because everybody gets to vote for it. So like for example, only actors get to vote for who gets nominated for acting awards. Only cinematographers get to go vote for who gets nominated for cinematography. But then everybody votes on who wins. But for picture, you vote and then you have to hit a threshold because they have so many nominees, and then you vote again, and then you vote again. And so what winds up happening is a lot of people's number one vote doesn't make the cut to get to the second time everybody votes. And then maybe their number one vote doesn't get. So very often it winds up not being most people's favorite. Mm-hmm. It winds up being the one that very few people disliked. So it's so hard. It's so hard to decide what you think it's going to be. But the Producers Guild, it's the producer who takes home the Oscar for Best Picture. And it's the producers who choose the nominees. And so between that and SAG, you never know for sure, but the producers chose Anora. Anora won the Producers Guild Award, and so that's again I think that's why we're siding with Anora.
And it's so interesting when you explain how the picture is chosen, that these two films, Anora is about a sex worker before it becomes a kidnapping, and I'm not going to give away the reveal at the end of Conclave, but man. That can be quite polarizing.
Yes.
And so to think that these are both falling in maybe a safe middle is very interesting. Very interesting to me.
It makes me kind of proud of the Academy this year, right? Yeah. That it's not Green Book, that it's not, a very middle of the road movie, that it's actually, some kind of polarizing, nutty content. And they're both such great movies. But Anora, and, I think, for me, I'm really sad Sing Sing didn't get nominated for Best Picture. I'm really sad Nosferatu didn't get nominated for Best Picture.
And I'm sad Challengers, not only that, but no nominations whatsoever.
Not even for score
or song.
Editing.
Couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Could not believe it. That's very, very strange to me. But
you're right. If it were up to me, I would give it to The Substance. But I can't complain if Anora wins. I really thought, and we had it listed as the second best movie of the year. I really thought Anora was a great movie.
Yeah. So I think that's right. I think that's our pick, and an upset on the outside could be Conclave, but we shall see. Yeah. Looking forward to it as always. I am sad that they've taken out the music performances this year. I believe we're not going to see those. But Conan O'Brien is a likable host. That should be fun, and hopefully it'll be, rise up to the standards of last year, because that was a really, really well done show. So we'll see Sunday night. Looking forward to it. And but what do you think, though? We always love to keep the conversation going. You can let us know. You can find us easily on all the socials, including YouTube at Mad Wolf Columbus, and of course the main website is maddwolf.com, MADDWOLF. That's where you can find all of the written reviews, not only from us, but from Daniel and Rachel and some of the other writers that work there as well. So keep the conversation going if you'd like to. Enjoy the Oscars. Should be interesting. And we'll talk about our reactions to it next week on the Screening Room podcast. And enjoy then. Until then, enjoy the movies. Be well. She is Hope Madden.
He's George Wolf.
And this is the Screening Room podcast.
See ya.
I do wish we could chat longer, but I'm having an old friend for dinner. Bye.